So we're going to play a game of pretend, and we're going to pretend that the comic companies gave us free reign over whatever franchise or character we wanted. We could play around with any title. The only limit given to us is the limits of our imagination. Now that does raise the question, just what would we do? So sit back, relax, enjoy, and we're going to tell you. So this week we're tackling the one who started it all, the Man of Steel, Superman. Just a little caveat though, we were behind schedule this week so bad. My brother said, you know what, Superman's an easy guy, everybody knows him, and he started writing him up. However, he's a bigger Green Lantern fan than Superman, so he actually added a lot of stuff that's being used already in Rebirth. I figure I'll gloss over that and hit the points that he makes that are new and are actually very interesting. So let's get started. The first thing that he wrote down that's already being done in Superman Rebirth is to make sure that Superman remains inspirational. He is not a mean jerk. Just because he's powerful doesn't mean he's mean. The being that powerful and being good all of the time is what makes him super. Say what you will about the rest of the movie, but Christopher Reeve's performance in the 1978 Superman movie was the perfect presentation of the character. He was upstanding, he was fair, he was kind and respectful to everyone, and he absolutely meant it. He was sincere when he said that he stood for truth, justice, and we're going to include this, the American way. He was raised in Kansas, for cripe's sake, so he's got the American individualist ideals. And that's a heck of a lot better than the I'm the mopey, lonely alien Superman that we get in other places. Which also leads to the fact that we are going to put the man in front of the super as far as Superman is concerned. He's Clark Kent. He was raised on a farm in Kansas, as I said before. And Smallville did a very good job of balancing out how much his destiny was concerned versus him being just human. Physiology, he was the alien, but emotionally, and his thoughts were because of how he was raised by Jonathan Kent. And that makes us both very happy that we are seeing Superman, Lois, and Jonathan in the pages of DC Rebirth. I swear to gosh, they are kicking ass on the Superman titles there. So all of that is cool, but what are we going to be doing that's different? Well, here we go. So there's no use in denying that Superman's immense number of powers, much less his overwhelming level of power, are one of the basic problems with the character. But we also should admit that merely limiting his powers doesn't solve any problems either. So instead, what we're going to do is take a look at those powers that have been truly intrinsic to the character, keep them, and toss the others out. But what we're going to do is basically streamline his abilities. Given the living solar battery energized cells concept to explain his powers, we're going to look at what this means and how it can be interpreted and limit Superman just to those powers that make sense for him to have. Super speed, super strength, for example, makes sense. His invulnerability and heat vision makes sense. Super ventriloquism, super weaving, and freeze breath, not so much. And based on the solar power battery rules, even the famous X-ray vision has to hit the cutting room floor. Sorry guys, it just doesn't fit the mold, so scenes like this have to go. Well, in our stories, he would be Clark Kent the reporter. So why isn't he covering the big breaking news? He's supposed to be a Pulitzer and Morrow Prize-winning journalist, so we're going to have him act like it. He'll be out there covering the big stories, interacting with social media, and basically being as much of a public presence as anyone you'd now see on CNN or Fox or any of the big network stations. And of course, in addition to the big fictional news found only in the DC universe, there will also be some stories that are ripped from today's headlines, of course. And the ones in the real world, he'll cover those also. Number 5, Lex Luthor for win. Let's face it, just as Batman would be much more boring character were it not for the Joker. Without Lex Luthor constantly scheming against Superman, the Big Blue Boy Scout would be much less fun to read. We're going to be sticking to the John Byrne interpretation of the character, a billionaire scientist industrialist who hides his true sociopathic nature behind a mask of charity and philanthropy. He is the very essence of the idea of a villain with good publicity. The worst part about him is that while Superman will be able to stop his schemes, he will pretty much never be able to pin anything on Luthor conclusively. Even worse, we're going to up the ante by making Luthor actively as philanthropic as he pretends to be. So when Superman asks, You've had a year, Lex, where's the cancer cure? This Lex will smile, hold up a vial of serum and say, right here. We're about to put it in widespread production and plan on charging no more than the cost of production. In addition, we're going to start a charitable program for people who can't afford it to still get the drug, because that's what a true master villain would do. We are going to put the people on the side of Lex Luthor. All Kryptonians are Kryptonian again. Superman is Kryptonian, Supergirl, Power Girl, and the entire population of the planet Daxam. We're making Daxam a colony of Krypton from a long time back. So they've evolved with all the same weaknesses that Daxamites have, and still all the same powers and abilities that a Kryptonian would have if they came into Earth's atmosphere. Which also takes care of, like we said, the Power Girl problem. We're going to make Power Girl and Supergirl sisters. So here's the idea. When Jor-El warned him that Krypton was about to explode, Jor-El's younger brother, shot his own rocket off towards Earth, carrying his two daughters. Instead of Power Girl being an alternate Earth version of Supergirl, she's Supergirl's older sister, and the two of them are still cousins of Superman, and still heroes in their own right. So anyway, that's all the...
Oh, sir. Just one more thing.
Yep, that's right. I forgot about Kryptonite. Kryptonite will still exist. I'm running with the idea that it is very rare, and it's also going to be dangerous for humans to handle. Because let's face it, radioactivity is radioactivity, and any radioactivity that can hurt Kryptonian is going to chew through a normal human being like they weren't even there. And that's my idea about that. So there you go. That's our take and some different ideas for Superman, as well as some praising of what they've started to do in the Rebirth series. It's a great series. What did you think? Are we way off base? Did we touch on some things that sound cool? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, you want to see more, please click like, share, subscribe to see more. And most importantly, thank you very much for watching.